Well, I certainly didn't expect that this episode was going to be so emotional and depressing. Not to the point where I was about to cry or left feeling sad, but enough to catch me off guard. See, I went into this episode knowing full well that Orla would have some sort of reason to refuse rejoining and or supporting Liko and friends that would force them to do something to convince her. After all, this is what happened with both Mollie and Murdock. However, their reasons, while perfectly valid, reasonable, and somewhat emotional in their own right, due to the regret and guilt that fueled them, didn't exactly tug at your heartstrings. They were nothing to shed a tear or feel sad over. I figured that Orla would follow suit, but nope. Her reason? It hits different. Turns out that she is stuck in place, unable to move forward, and refusing to help and rejoin Liko and friends because of something that is quite heartbreaking. She simply sees no point in taking to the skies again with the brave Olivine as the rising boat tacklers if Friede is gone. After all, he is the one who formed the rising boat tacklers and the one who had Orla turn Ludlow's ship into the brave Olivine. Without Friede, it's like the heart of the rising boat tacklers stopped beating. This simple truth is at the core of Orla's refusal, and it hits hard. Friede wasn't just the founder of the Rising Boat Tacklers and the one who commissioned the brave Olivine. He was also the soul of the group, the glue that held them together, and their leader, the one who inspired them, connected them, and drove them forward. His absence leaves behind a silence, a gap that no one has truly acknowledged until now. Despite how pivotal he is to their identity, this episode marks the first time his presumed demise is openly addressed in this arc. Not a single person, not even Mollie or Murdock, had so much as mentioned him until now. Presumably they, and the Liko and friends too, were deliberately avoiding the subject altogether. Perhaps because it was just too painful, too heavy to bring up without dragging everyone else down. They likely wanted to spare themselves and each other from the emotional toll. This silence, however, softened the impact of his quote-unquote death and lessened the emotional weight of losing him, making it feel as though he'd been quietly forgotten. Of course, he wasn't forgotten. They likely mourned him in silence, each carrying that grief privately while trying to move forward. And Liko's heartfelt speech to Orla proves this. By reframing their adventure as a continuation of Friede's legacy, not a shadow of it, Liko shows that they have always honored him, just by continuing to move forward. That's what Friede would have wanted. Not to be remembered in sorrow, but in action. He wouldn't want his friends to remain stuck in place because of him. And that is what makes this episode so poignant. We finally address the wound that everyone's been tiptoeing around, and we do it through the character who arguably felt his absence the most, exemplified best when she sees Friede in Roy, Orla. One of the first to meet Friede alongside Ludlow, and perhaps the one closest to him. She's always been the energetic optimist, the bright spirit of the team, someone who wore her heart on her sleeve and always had a smile on her face. But here we find her changed, somber, closed off, and emotionally distant. She's not moving forward. She's stuck, locked in a cycle of daily routines and factory work, numbing herself with productivity to avoid confronting the ache of loss. This episode cleverly doesn't rely on melodrama or outbursts to convey that grief. Instead, it shows us a once vibrant character quietly broken. This contrast alone is devastating. It's what gives the story emotional weight. Orla's journey in this episode is a case study in visual storytelling. Her silence, her hesitance, the simple way she avoids eye contact, and the quiet hurt behind her denial all clearly portray exactly how she feels without a word. And when she finally begins to heal, it's not with fanfare. It's through a subtle, powerful moment. Cap standing on the brave Olivine's wheel like he usually does. A familiar presence that reminds her of the past and that also nudges her towards the future. This moment speaks volumes without actually speaking, and it's enhanced by the support of her Pokémon, Metagross and Elekid, who help push her to act. And the brave Olivine itself, it was never dismantled. Orla said it was, but the reality speaks louder. She kept it intact, well maintained, and in working order. Officially, she claims it was for the wild Pokemon who call it home. But perhaps she needed it just as much as they did. It's clear she's been grieving in silence for a year, stuck in place, clinging to the memories, to her family in the Rising Bolt Tacklers, and to Friede himself. Like Murdock, she probably wants to continue traveling with everyone, but is afraid to admit it, trapped by unresolved sorrow and regret. Time has essentially stopped for her. She hasn't let go of the past, nor moved on to the future. Liko's role in breaking this emotional stasis cannot be overstated. Her maturity in this episode is incredible. Once upon a time, she would have been the one seeking reassurance and emotional clarity. But now, she's the one who provides it. She stands firm, not with pressure, but with empathy, reminding Orla that Friede's dream didn't die with him, and that their journey is still his journey too. It's a beautiful reflection of Liko's growth and a powerful moment of emotional payoff that ties this entire arc thus far together. And speaking of powerful characters, Karna deserves just as much praise. I've said it before, but this series continues to impress with how it brings back characters who once seemed like one-offs. Karna first appeared all the way back in episode 29. And now, she returns not just for continuity's sake, but to play a meaningful role in the story, both emotionally and narratively. Her return, like that of other similar characters, makes the world feel alive, like actions and relationships truly matter in the long run, even for minor characters. In many ways, she was the perfect person for Orla to turn to. Their bond was forged through a shared love of building and engineering, and their personalities complement each other beautifully. Orla is the bold, expressive extrovert, at least normally, while Karna is soft-spoken, introverted, and gentle. But even in Orla's diminished state, the warmth between them is palpable. Their dynamic is tender and deeply human, full of quiet support, mutual respect, and emotional care. Honestly, they feel like sisters. Throughout the episode, Karna is constantly looking out for Orla. She worries about her, checks in on her, and gently tries to coax her out of her shell. She knows Orla is hurting, and she tries her best to help her friend face those feelings. Moreover, she serves as the bridge between Liko and friends and Orla by helping them better understand how Orla feels and what she's thinking by recounting what she's been doing and feeling in the year since they last saw her and how she ended up working and living with Karna. This provides Liko and friends and us with valuable insight into Orla's state of mind and life, both during the year gap and currently. But Karna doesn't just support emotionally, she ends up contributing heavily to the overarching story too. As it turns out, she was unknowingly manufacturing strong spheres under Exceed's commission, unaware of the harmful impact they have on Pokémon. And once Liko and the others reveal the truth, she doesn't hesitate. She believes them, trusts them, and refuses to hand the spheres over, even condemning the employees sent to retrieve them. This moment reframes Karna not just as Orla's ally, but as an ally of the rising bolt tacklers themselves. Her conviction is strong, and her decision to stand up against Exceed marks a subtle but meaningful blow to their supply chain. It's a small victory, but one that speaks volumes about the show's attention to detail. Every small action contributes to the bigger picture. Moreover, the irony is sharp here. Karna, who once made Pokeballs which strengthen and signify the bond between trainer and Pokemon, was now unknowingly creating devices that shattered that very bond. This contrast drives home the significance of her choice and reinforces the moral backbone of the episode. And just when you think the surprises are over, the episode delivers another unexpected twist. Not only do employees from Exceed show up, but so do the explorers. And it's not the usual suspects we are used to. We are introduced to two new grunts who feel like the Jesse and James we have at home, though less goofy and more threatening, while still being eccentric. These two are the first lower-level explorers we've met aside from Onya and Cirque, which raises questions. Were they always around, or are these new recruits? Regardless, their presence expands the scale of the enemy organization, showing us the larger web beyond the core villains we've been following. And to top it off, each one sends out a Paldean Tauros, one Aqua breed and one Blaze breed, fittingly matching the designs of their respective grunt. They then proceed to power up their Pokemon using strong spheres, escalating the conflict and setting the stage for a full-on battle. But then the episode ends, so it ends on a cliffhanger. This wasn't just a character-focused episode, it was part one of a two-part mini-arc, and that alone changes the framing. Unlike Mollie and Murdock, who each had one self-contained episode for their returns, Orla's story spills into episode 100, which means episode 99 doesn't fully resolve its emotional or narrative threads. It needs episode 100 to complete what it started. This does diminish episode 99 slightly, since it cannot fully stand on its own. But this doesn't change the fact that it's a fantastic episode. One full of heart, weighty atmosphere, and some truly poignant character development. It delivers quiet reflection, moral reaffirmation, and emotional catharsis, all while still continuing to push the strong sphere narrative forward. Finally, I just want to highlight a couple of smaller parts of the episode. First, Uruto's comical aversion to women, this time to Orla, continues to be a reliably funny gag that never fails to be funny. Second, it was honestly heartwarming to see the wild Pokemon who've been traveling with the rising bolt tacklers return. Even if they've never been central to the plot, they are cute, funny, full of charm, and their presence adds texture and continuity to the point that they are admittedly memorable enough to miss. Which means that getting to see them again is something worth being delighted about. Especially since Karna mentions that they look happier when they are with Orla, Liko, and friends. Which shows that even the Pokemon want things to go back to how they used to be. Even they have trouble parting ways with the past and moving forward. This is beautifully in line with the theme of the episode. It reinforces one of its core messages. Lastly, I love that just like Mousehold stayed behind to accompany Mollie, Poltergeist and Sinisty chose to stay with Orla. Perhaps they knew she needed the company, or the nice bit of comic relief they provide with their usual antics. A good laugh can help mend a broken heart. So, overall, this episode was fantastic. A deeply emotional and beautifully layered return for Orla that not only captured the weight of grief and the struggle to move forward, but also highlighted the strength of quiet support, the power of friendship, and the unshakable bonds that tie the rising boat tacklers together. It was an episode full of surprises, character growth, and meaningful storytelling, even if it cannot fully stand on its own without what comes next. What it does deliver on its own is more than enough to leave a lasting impression. A story of sorrow and healing, of past and future, of holding on and letting go. All told through the quiet pain of a smile lost and the slow, hopeful journey to reclaim it. Let's hope episode 100 gives us the closure this episode's elegant and masterful setup deserves. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find ways to do so in the description below. Your support truly means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.